So welcome to the Honeybee Watch Symposia series. I'm Steve Rogenstein. I'm your host and behind-the-scenes coordinator, as well as Honeybee Watch's project director. And I'm joined today with Rigo Moro, who is our science director. Today, we're going to hear from three experts who will share their stories and projects and experiences dealing with data rights and data sharing. Afterwards, we'll have a panel discussion amongst them, and to conclude, a Q&A with the audience. So the purpose of this Symposia series is manifold, namely to build this international coalition, to bring speakers together, to introduce them to one another, to introduce you to them, to bring you together, to spark dialogue, to share resources, etc. Also to provide this platform whereby you can hear different people's projects about free-living honeybees, as well as hear the dialogues that might ensue between researchers that have different perspectives and are working on different aspects of these populations. It's to discuss these individual issues, such as monitoring back in June, today, data rights and data sharing, and in December about this complicated definition of wild or feral or free living or nature-based or whatever you want to call these types of bees. And especially from Honeybee Watch's perspective, these are topics that have been challenging for us in the 3 years of our existence. And what we're hoping is through the Symposia series to talk out the issues and possibly progress on these topics that might lead to solutions and or address different aspects of them that we had not considered before. Specific to today, we are going to talk about data rights, data sharing, the possibility of co-authoring and of publications, etc. And it's a complex topic, and it's something that has challenged us for a very long time. It's been a recurring issue, and it's got very many layers. So Honeybee Watch works directly with citizen scientists who provide us with these nest sites. And the question is for them, are you willing to share your data? Are you willing to share your name and your email and participate in this and collect more data through monitoring several times a year? We also work with research partners who are providing us with data, and they, in turn, are collecting data potentially from citizens. And we have two examples of that today. We have Honeybee Wild in Luxembourg, and we have Bee Wild in Italy, and they will hopefully share their perspectives. Additionally, they have a relationship with us at Honeybee Watch. And the question is, what data do they share? What do they not share? Why, with whom, etc. We also are in partnership with the IUCN, the International Union for the Conservation of Nature. We are spearheading the reassessment of Apis mellifera in Europe. And we have asked research partners to share their data with IUCN to know where these populations are distributed throughout Europe, as well as to share the data with Honeybee Watch. And in some instances, they've been willing to share it for both projects, and some they have not. And hopefully we'll dive into that aspect. And then there are other global entities like BeeLife, represented today by Noa, the European Pollinator Hub, the Global Biodiversity Information Facility. And what is the relationship that Honeybee Watch will have with them? Will we be sharing our data with them? Will they be sharing data with us? And also, can our research partners and our citizens' data be shared more widely with other types of groups? There's also open source. A lot of organizations are looking at that as a model. And we wonder whether or not we will be open source as well, whether our partners would be willing to be open source. What are the advantages of this? What are the disadvantages? So the issues go on and on and on. And hopefully we're going to have really kind of deep and profound explorations of these topics in today's symposium. So I can continue, but really what we're trying to do is listen to our guests. So today we will hear from three experts from Luxembourg, Italy, and in Brussels representing the EU. Each of them will get 12 minutes to talk about their projects, to tell their stories, and comment on these issues of data rights and data sharing. After their presentations, we'll have a panel discussion for about 30 minutes, and then we'll open the floor to your questions in the remaining time. With that, I'm going to introduce our first guest. Roger Dammé, if you can unmute yourself. So I'm not going to read his bio because we have that on the website. I'm not going to read anybody's bio. Instead, what I'll try to do is contextualize their research in case you're not already familiar with it. And of course, if I misstate anything, please correct me. Roger is one of several contributors to the Honeybee Wild study, which is dedicated to locating, monitoring, and protecting free-living honeybees in Luxembourg. They have a very unique situation in the country because the current laws state that veterinarians must kill free-living honeybees, which is kind of shocking for some of us to hear that, but that is a reality, and it's the case in many other countries. And I think in Singapore, there's an issue about this as well. And because of this, plus some beekeepers' suspicion of wild colonies spreading diseases near their apiaries, Honeybee Wild only publishes data with limited geolocalization, basically masking it with a 1 kilometer radius obfuscation. And this is actually something that we do at Honeybee Watch as well. We never publicly release the GPS locations. We want to make sure that these free-living nests are protected from vandalism, trapping, or any ill will. So they're also trying to repeal this law in Luxembourg, and we hope that they have success. If anybody here in the audience has had success changing and repealing their laws that are similar in their countries, please let us know, because we could all benefit from and learn from your experiences, what the pitfalls might be, what your successes have been. So, Roger, if there's time, we're hoping that you can briefly explain your relationship to Honeybee Wild, or the relationship Honeybee Wild has with its constituents, and how and with whom you currently share their data. So I'm going to set my alarm. It is going to ring at 11 minutes, giving you a 1 minute kind of notification that your time is almost up. And with that, I see you're ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Fantastic. Let's start.
Okay, so hello everybody. Do you see my screen? Okay, that's fine. So I'll be able to start. So just to present myself, I have no scientific background. I studied IT, worked first for a bank, then for a hospital in IT and human resources. With beekeeping, I started about 25 years ago, and was also active in regional associations as well as in the Luxembourg Beekeepers Federation. Here, so sorry. So, okay, I have to cut something. So I will not go into the whole detail of this. It's only to show what we are doing in Honeybee with Honeybee Watch. So we are a group of volunteers, citizen scientists. We started in 2017, 2018 with first building log bee homes in order to we populated them with swarms. Some of us also attended courses in Belgium and Belarus for the building of these log bee homes. And some years later, we started to record first free-living nests, where today we have about 50 known sites of these nests. So our main goal is first to find as much nests as possible, to monitor these nests 3 to 4 times a year, and also to try to protect these nests of free-living honeybees especially if these bees are living in trees, which is we consider as very important. We also cooperate on a national level with some environmental NGOs, with our National History Museum, also with LIST, Luxembourg Science and Technology Institute, and also did some publications in specialized papers in Luxembourg just to promote the fact that we are looking for nests. We also have some international collaboration or networking with Free the Bees, attending some conferences. And we also have a good collaboration with Vincent Albouy from France and Dr. Uwe Lang from Germany, with whom we already share some of our data. One of our late friends, Christian Zeven, together with Dr. Lang and Albouy, also made a first publication, which was published in Natural Bee Husbandry last year. And finally, we also, some of us already helped with an initial translation and review for glossary, which is something we will talk about later on with Noa, I think. Okay, so Luxembourg is, for those who does not know, so we are an independent country, but very, very small. So 2,586 square kilometers, 80 kilometers long and 57 large. Half of our country is agriculture and winery, 30% forests, and the rest cities, towns, roads, railways, and so on. So our nest findings, so actually we know about 50 nest sites, not all of them continuously occupied. And one of our experiences is that we largely depend on third-party notifications. So we cannot, as everybody knows, we cannot just walk around and look for honeybees, but we are dependent of hunters, foresters, nature lovers who notify us nests, mostly by telephone, by mail, and so on. Something which we consider as very important. So each nest notification has to be validated, because everybody knows it. Yeah, there are frequent confusions between wasps, hornets, honeybees, and so on. This year we also tried beelining. We have 3 positive experiences. So one, to find a nest in a tree. Unfortunately, 2 others where we found apiaries we were not aware of at the start. Some tourist promotions for Luxembourg. So in Luxembourg we have a very small country, but we have about 70 castles and fortresses. And in at least 5 of them, we know bees, honeybees, living in holes in the walls. So that's something very interesting also for promoting our work in Luxembourg. I think it's very interesting and important. I will not go into detail in this. Also, this is an extract of our Excel sheet where we note down all our monitoring work. If you see at the bottom, you see a lot of color codes. These codes had been defined first by Vincent Albouy, and then we discussed it with Dr. Lang and between Christian Zeven also. And so we use that mainly for monitoring. And this Excel sheet is also one of our problems. Actually, we have 50 nests. If one day we will have 100 or 150 nests, it will become really messy. And we know that we have to make things more easy with Excel. So Excel is cloud-based, protected Excel sheet where we can share this location and the monitoring with our volunteers. We also have the description, quite precise description of our nests, who is in charge of the nest and for the volunteers, and so on. Actually, we don't have any data sharing with the public or any volunteers or with the people who are notifying us the nests. so that, which is done by email, by phone. Yes. But we are also already sharing this data with Vincent Walbury and Dr. Lang in Germany, where we also collaborated already on these on defining these color codes. But as already stated, we do not share the exact GPS coordinates. Because we consider our data is confidential. Steve already told about it. We have, unfortunately, a legislation in Luxembourg which obliges the veterinary inspectors, so official veterinaries of the national administration, to destroy wild living colonies and abandoned beehives. So in practice, I think that does not happen. But it is in the legislation since about 40 years, probably because of Varroa and so on. I will come back to this later. The second obstacle to not publish all the data is that Apis mellifera, free living honeybees, are not protected. So that is, I think that should be a common aim to contribute to change this status in the next years. But we already shared exact nest locations already with Honeybee Watch for just for this specific objective of enabling a better assessment of the honeybees by IUCN. And for other research purposes, we can publish, so we are able to publish our data, but with the correction of the exact GPS location to the center of a one square kilometer grid. Just one example here. So at the bottom, we have an exact location of a nest, and with this 1 kilometer grid, which we can calculate from the exact distance with the help of the National Institute of Science and Technology, so we can show the data with a quite precise location for statistics, but hide the exact location. And for our 15 nests, so the average distance from the exact point to this calculated point is about 400 meters, which I think is sufficient to hide the exact, to not show the exact location. Data sharing is very important for us because I think this international, especially with international, to do it on an international level, because we want to contribute to improve the IUCN status of Apis mellifera. Something which is very important for us too is that we absolutely need a common terminology. Everyone talks about the same thing. So we are focusing only on free living honeybees. So what are free living honeybees? We are not focusing on unmanaged hives. But these are, for example, two terms who have to be defined very precisely. Another possibility which we would welcome would be a common basic data model to be used by everyone who is providing this data. Also to help for the nest identification and monitoring done normally by citizen scientists. So that could be helpful too. Something we would also like to have is that the data provider, so if we provide data on an international platform, we would like to remain the data owner. But the data should be available to all data providers with a partnership agreement. And the detailed GPS location, as I told, we do not want to share it, but if it is well protected for research purposes, it is possible also to share this data. And last but not least, in if some research institutes or scientific institutes are making publications about this, I think it would be necessary that everyone who provides data would be cited to this. One last slide is what are our challenges. So one first challenge is we want absolutely to discover more nests, especially in trees or natural habitats, because I think about half of the nests we know right now are in buildings where it is more likely that people who see the bees will notify us. But as we have 30% of the Luxembourg territory which are forests, I think there are a lot more out in the forests, and there we are dependent on foresters, hunters, and so on. So I think we will focus next year on this. What we found already is that monitoring nests is very important, because even if nests are empty for 2, 3, or 4 years, they are very likely to be occupied again with new swarms. It's something we saw especially this year. So the protection of these tree cavities is something we consider as very important. Another challenge is to better involve beekeepers, because many beekeepers still see free living colonies as a threat for Varroa, American foulbrood. And I think one possibility which would be to distinguish clearly between free living colonies and abandoned beehives, which is something completely different. And with this difference, I think we could be lobbying together for the change of the legislation in Luxembourg. Something I talked already about it was our Excel database. We have to improve it, also use this common glossary, and be able to share and extract data in a more simplified, more easily. And also simplify this GPS export to this 1 square kilometer grid, which actually we do with the help of the Luxembourg Institute of Science and Technology. So that's what I wanted to tell. Just to be complete here, as this is already recorded, your main contact persons, internet page, and also Facebook group, where we publish on a regularly basis our informations. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Roger. Very interesting. Thank you for sharing your case study. What I find interesting is that you've developed so much in such a short period of time, and with the challenges that your country faces with these laws, that I find it crazy that the free living colonies are lumped in with the abandoned beehives, and they both need to be destroyed. That's kind of horrifying for us to hear.